The metaphysical backdrop. And this is where the clicker stops working. Of course it was going to stop working. All right. And I can't even use the laptop itself for some reason. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, hold on a second. All right, this is the entire course. Khalas, we're done. Okay, we'll start here. Bismillah. So what I have up there is a number of what we call isms. These are what you would call results of the world that we live in. And this particular, the way we do this workshop, by the way, at least the way that I teach it, is not for me to talk at you. I want to talk with you. So what I'm going to do now, I want you to tell me what are the definitions of some of these. Now, you've already covered atheism. You've got into a lot of details about that. Someone tell me, what do we mean by liberalism? What is liberalism? It's not hard. Someone tell me what liberty means. Y'all live in America, right? All right, freedom, someone said it, okay. Yes, go ahead, say it, whoever's, yes. You are allowed to do whatever you want. No limits, right? So liberalism is that which allows you to do whatever you want, right? So I do what I want. Okay, that is basically liberalism. All right. Transgenderism. What is that? Look, I'm coming from Texas, so we don't have that much transgenderism there. But I'm assuming if I'm in Seattle on the West Coast here, that y'all deal with some of this here. Is that a safe assumption? Yes? No? A little bit. I would hope. I don't know. I wouldn't hope so, but I mean. Okay, what is it? Okay. Okay, so someone could be an animal, a tree, or, okay, all right. Yeah, yes, go ahead, sister. You can become whatever you want. Okay, what else? Yeah. Okay, so they misalign with the sex that they were born with. Okay, all right, fair enough. Anybody else? Yes. They believe gender is fluid, you can choose whatever gender you want. Okay, good. Postmodernism. Postmodernism, let's go. I'm trying to get some energy. I don't know, everyone seems very like, ah. All right, what is postmodernism? Who's studying at university, by the way? I'm curious. Anybody in college at the moment? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, y'all in college, you definitely should know what postmodernism is. So what is it? What does if you saw the word, what do you think it means? Based on the word. Someone said it. After modernism, right? Post-modernism, okay? So that's a good starting point. Where do we go from there? So if you think about modernism, that which comes after modernism would be what? Okay, so you have a certain view of history, let's say. Okay, fair enough. That's maybe a little more like post-colonialism, but okay, yeah. So definitely post the Industrial Revolution, all right? Some of the problems that came with modernism, a response to that. That's basically what postmodernism would be, right? So modernism has certain problems. It has problems with how do you deal with the environment? How do you deal with warfare? How do you deal with racism? And so on. A response to that is called postmodernism. Now, it has its own, what they call philosophical presuppositions. We won't get into it, but you get the general idea. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, what about nihilism? I'm going to get through this a bit quick. Nihilism. Nothing matters. Everything is meaningless, right? So your life, your existence, your presence, it's all just meaningless, right? Because if you're just a bunch of matter, then why do you matter? Okay? If you're just blind matter, right? Your form is one form. Why does it matter? That's nihilism. Okay, feminism. Wait, hold on, sister. Yes. Okay, so the advocacy of women's rights, believing that all genders should have the same rights. Okay, good. That's one. Anyone else? Feminism. Okay, I think I'll go with that. What about Buchanism? Anybody? Nobody? Nobody knows Buchanism? No? Okay, what about Cuckolism? Nobody's heard of Cuckolism? Okay, good. That was a test. Those last two, I made them up. They actually don't exist. Okay? Now, the reason I'm going through this brief exercise is because this particular course that we're going through and what we're going to go through next, what we want to do is we don't want you to take each ism and give a response to each ism. That's not the goal. The goal is to give you the foundations you need to confront any single worldview, any single ism and schism that arises, whether you know about it or you don't know about it. So the mantra here that we're going with is, you know how they say that if you teach a man, or if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. What we want to do is we want to teach you how to fish, not just give you, here's postmodernism, here's nihilism, here's, secularism and feminism and liberalism. All right, is that clear? So the idea is to empower you to be able to deal with all of these isms and schisms, okay? So now, this is what we're going to cover in this section, or I'm going to try to cover in this section. It's basically 4 things we're going to look at. And now I'm going to try, because I know our time is a bit, we have a little bit of a premium on time. Number 1, I'm going to look at this, what I have up here. Islam is not a religion. So how many people think Islam is a religion? Raise your hands. Be confident, man. This safe space. Okay, back there. How many people think Islam is a religion? Raise your hands. Be confident about your opinion, man. Okay, we got a few people, all right. My opinion is that Islam is not a religion. And we're going to get into why I think so, and I think by the end you may agree with me, okay? That'll be the first section. The second section, we're going to be talking about worldviews. So we're going to ask the question, what is a worldview? And why are we talking about worldviews? Then we'll look at what are the components of a worldview, what makes up a worldview, and finally, we're going to be looking at something that's extremely important when you're dealing with atheists. All right? In fact, not only atheists, just people that are having doubts about Islam, ex-Muslims, whatever you want to, whatever, the limits of rationality. And how do we navigate those limits, right? Because if you ask anyone, no one will say that rationality is unlimited. And yet, people are always demanding proof for everything, as if it's unlimited. But we're going to talk about the limits of rationality, and then how do we navigate that space, and why in Islam that limit has the most robust means to be able to navigate through it, okay? So that's what we're going to be covering, bi-idhnillah, starting now. Okay, so let's start now. Man, this clicker's like tired. Come on, give me some love. So you went like 6 slides ahead. Okay, here we go. Okay, question. Actually, hold on. That's not even the question I wanted to ask. That is a question. Let's assume I'm gonna present a case study in front of you, like a thought experiment. Okay. Remember, I said I'm not going to be talking at you. I want to talk with you. All right. What if I came to you and I said that I don't think women should have rights? How would you feel about that? The brother's wife is not here. So anyways, okay. How do you feel about that? If I say, look, I don't think women should have rights. Everyone's good with that. Okay, khalas, everyone, let's go home. Right? You don't like it? Okay, so if I ask the question, why should women have rights? Now, however, before you answer this question, there's one criteria you have to follow. You cannot use Islam. So, you can't use Islam as an argument. Why should women have rights? You can't use Islam, don't forget. Okay. Okay, so why should men have rights? That's my question. Okay, let's extend it. Why should men have rights? Why should humans have rights? Why should human beings have rights? I'll let you think about it. Okay, so why should women have rights? One response is, why should men have rights? Okay, I'll ask the question again. Why should men have rights too? People, you didn't think it was going to be this like philosophical draining, did you? Why should humans have rights? Let's start with that, okay? Because maybe the feminism aspect. Because humans have the power to control things. So therefore, animals should not have rights because they don't control things. So power is what gives rights. And if you're powerless, you should not have rights. So if men are more powerful than women, therefore men should have rights and women should not have rights. So? Okay. So someone help me out. Should women have rights? And if so, why? And you can't use Islam. Come on, sisters. I'm assuming that you guys would have this on lockdown. Why should a woman have rights?
Because if women don't have rights, then nothing will happen. They will not do anything. If you don't give them rights.
If you don't give them rights, nothing will happen. No food. I don't know. Again, if we talk about like a power differential, what if we said, okay, no, we'll force them to give us force them to give us food? It's possible. Indentured labor. Why not? Yes.
If you don't give human beings rights, they won't cooperate.
Okay, so that's kind of an extension of what our sister said. If you don't give human beings rights, they won't cooperate. Okay? Now, let's say that you don't give a section of human beings rights. Do you need cooperation necessarily? Let's say the pre-modern world. Do you think they had the cooperation of human beings? Not necessarily. Sure. Sure. Okay, fair enough. So the question, okay, so let's take a step back. My question was, why should women have rights, right? And then we went to like, why should human beings have rights? So now you said, okay, there's gonna be no cooperation. Okay, let me go even deeper. Why do we need cooperation? Yeah. Why should we prevent fighting? Okay, we don't want to die. Why should we not want to die? Forever? Okay, let me ask you this. Let me reframe the question now. If we were to ask, let's say, a hardened feminist, right? Why should women have rights? And non-Muslim, okay? What do you think their response would be? And I'll give you a hint. Okay, go ahead, yes. Is subjective. Okay, but if you asked a feminist, they would be like, well, it's subjective. Do you think that's what they would say? No, they obviously not, right? Obviously, you could make that argument. But if you asked a feminist, they would have to give some sort of response, right? Like, why should women have rights? So here's a hint. All right, go ahead. You wanted to. Okay, they could say that. But again, what we're asking is, for what basis do you say that you should have rights? Like, you should have the right to not be oppressed. That's essentially what they're asking, right? Okay, so I'll give you a hint. What they would probably say. So if you ever saw, footage of women protesting outside of Planned Parenthood, right, during the during the whole abortion debate. Okay, I don't know if you guys saw that. Yeah. A question. Well, hold off on the question just now. So I'm trying to build a case here, so give me a second. All right. A confusion for my question. No, I'm not asking what the rights of a woman are. Why should they have rights? Yes.
It's an exercise, it's not a real.
Yeah, it's not, I'm not, I do believe women should have rights. Just want to clarify that. I know I'm on camera. Before anyone gets confused. Before my wife watches it, you're going to get me in trouble, man. So, okay. So, if you go to those protests that happen outside of Planned Parenthood, right? A lot of times, the protesters are holding a sign, a placard, right? And on that sign, it says something. It says, "My body, my choice." So what is the assumption when they say that a woman should have rights? The assumption is self-ownership. This is an assumption not only in feminism, but liberalism. It's an assumption in postmodernism, self-ownership. Now, is that an assumption that we take on? No, because anytime someone passes away in our community, what is the thing on everyone's lips? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Allah we belong, right? So our ownership is, we are owned by Allah. We don't have self-ownership. Now here's the thing. If we said that, okay, first of all, can we say that feminism is a religion? Most people would say no. Now you can make the argument if you want back and forth. Here's why, and if you remember what the place I'm going with this is to say that Islam is not a religion, because if you say Islam is a religion and feminism is not a religion, it does not allow Islam to speak about feminism. It puts Islam in a certain box to say this is religion, feminism is not religion, Islam has nothing to do with this. And if it does have something to do with it, we can call it Islamic feminism, right? But that's a separate issue. So, let me continue. So what I'm trying to say here is that when we think of Islam as a religion, this is for us now, as a concept, immediately we quarantine it to this box called religion. And this, what I'm saying, is a problem, is a conceptual problem when we do this, okay? Now, yes, it worked. So what is my central thesis when I'm trying to say Islam is not a religion? What I'm saying is understanding Islam as a religion does not allow us to accurately compare it to dominant ideologies such as feminism, such as transgenderism, such as liberalism, and so on. Therefore, Islam is not a religion. Is everyone clear now? And this is, we're going to take this slowly, but it's very important. This is why we call this the metaphysical backdrop. I'll get into that, why we call it this in a second. But these are the foundations. Right at the starting point, if you understand Islam as a religion, you're already on the back foot when you're dealing with a lot of these shubuhat before you even start, okay? Moving on. So, when I say Islam is not a religion, we need to take a bit of a step back for a second. Please work. Nope, doesn't like me. Nope, blew right past it. There we go, okay. So, now you might be wondering, why does he have a picture of this up here? So a few years ago, I had visited the UK. Our head office is there, Sapience Institute. And I was at the gym with the brothers, and I said, brothers, can you show me where the restroom is? So they said it's over down there or wherever. I went there, and I see this sign, disabled toilet. So I was like, oh man. So I go back, and I say, guys, there's only one bathroom and it's broken. It's not working. So they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? So they're like, okay, come, you know. I was like, look, I'll show you guys. So we go up and I see the door, I look at the door, and I say, look, it says the joint's disabled, man. It's not working. They're like, bro, disabled for people that are disabled, that are handicapped. And I was like, oh, now okay, now that makes sense, all right? Now the thing is, when you look at the word disabled, there's two ways of understanding it. One way, it's not giving me love. Nope. Bismillah. Okay, anyways. When you look at the word disabled, there's another slide. But anyways, when you look at the word disabled, there's one way of understanding it which is based on the context that I'm in. Okay? Meaning, as an American, when I hear the word disabled, I'm not thinking of someone that's handicapped per se, especially when it's on the bathroom door. I'm thinking of it as something that's broken, right? Now, there are two ways to understanding words in general, all right? There's one which we call descriptive, and the other which we would call normative. A descriptive way of understanding a word is that which the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word. A normative way of understanding the word is how it should be understood, how something is normally understood. Okay? Now this is important. This dichotomy will become important in just a second. Come on. This is not cooperating with me at all. I tried. Even on the computer, it's not working. I tried the arrows. Oh, see, it blasts through like 6 slides at one time. Yeah. Oh, wow. There, it just came up. There we go. All right. So when I say that Islam is not a religion, am I speaking about religion as is understood descriptively or normatively? Because this is an important question. Okay, so let me take a step back just to distinguish between normative and descriptive. I know they're big words, but we're gonna arm people today and empower them with some really big words, so next time they go to Memphis and they start speaking to people there, people in Memphis will doubt that they know English anymore. Okay, anyway, it's an internal joke, you know. Sheikh Anwar will mention it in his session. Anyway, so, descriptive. Let's take the word Islam, all right, since we're all familiar. What does Islam mean? So we have one answer here, submission to the will of Allah. What is Islam? So everyone should be answering this question. So raise your hand. What is Islam? Submission. All right, you just took his answer. Okay. What else? What is Islam? Help me out quickly. Hadith Jibreel. Someone, come on. What is Islam? Come on, people. We're in a masjid. Let's go. What is it? What is Islam? Okay, we're submitting to the will of Allah. We got that. All right. Submitting to the will of Allah. What is Islam? Okay, peace. All right. What is Islam? Sisters. Yes, way back there. Believing in one God. Very good. Okay. Okay. You're praying 5 times a day, fasting a month of Ramadan. Okay. The 5 pillars. Okay, you mentioned. Yes, what is Islam? A guide on how to live your life. Okay. All of these are correct, right? But all of these are what we would call normative. And the reason why they're normative is because this is how Islam should be understood. It is what Islam says about itself. Okay? Now, if I go to a place like, there's a really small town in Texas called Midland, Texas. Anyone been to Midland, Texas? Okay, I didn't think so. All right? I have actually been to Midland, Texas. But anyway, small town. And you can now imagine the population of Midland, Texas. I want you to just think about who the people here would look like, what they would be like. And I asked, we're collecting them, man. I've got like, I got Abdullah's in mind right here. Okay, so the population of Midland, Texas, if I go up to someone, random person in Midland, Texas, and I say, could you please tell me what Islam is? What do you think his answer would be? Islam? You mean that craziness with all them terrorists and all the people trying to kill the people? That's Islam. All right? That is a descriptive understanding of Islam. By descriptive, I mean, what is the first thing that comes to a person's mind when they hear a word? Everyone clear? So you have normative, how something should be understood, okay? How, you can equate normative with normal. How something should be understood. So Islam, it should be understood as submission to the will of Allah. It should be understood by the 5 pillars, the Shahada, and so on and so forth. Descriptively, it depends on who you ask. Okay, everyone clear the difference? And by the way, this term normative, I know Sheikh Anwar mentioned that it's adding vocabulary, but it's actually it's become quite a popular term. I don't know if I have the Google Ngram somewhere here. I thought I did, but maybe not. Okay, now we're stuck on another slide. Okay, ignore this slide. So, because I want to touch on normative. The term normative, we've understood what that means, right? Okay, so when someone says, are you, see, look at that, it went straight back to the first slide. Okay, so when someone says, are you heteronormative? What do you think? Who here is heteronormative? Raise your hands. Who's heteronormative? Okay, let me put it this way. I am heteronormative. Anyone else? Okay, now we've got a little people with a little more confidence. Anyone? Sorry? Okay, but that's what I'm trying to say. Normative. What does the word normative mean? We already went over that. How something should be understood, how something should be. What is normal? Okay? So when I say heteronormative, all right? Are we heteronormative? Yes. Unless someone says I am homonormative. A'udhu billah, right? And this is a common term because in the broader society, when you say heteronormative, people say, how dare you? You are against the gay community because you're saying that it's normal to be, you know, to have a hetero relationship. But you understand this term, you should know it. Because if someone asks you, are you heteronormative? And you can be like, A'udhu billah, right? They'll be like, you're right, you're with me, brother, right? Everyone clear on that? Are you cisnormative? Let's keep going. Yeah, okay, just a cheating, yani. You've already been through all this. Okay, who here is cisnormative? See, everyone now raising their hands because like, oh, we know where this is going. All right, cisnormative, you believe that there are only two genders, right? You think it is normative that there's a man and there's a woman, right? And if there is a deviance, that is not normative. It's recognizable. It's not saying that they don't exist, but that is not normal. So heteronormativity, cisnormativity, these are all very common terms, especially in Seattle, by the way, more than they are in Houston, Texas. Okay? So you guys should know these terms. All right, moving on. So coming back to the concept of religion, and is Islam a religion? I'm going to really hope that this actually works. It's working so far. Good. So when I say Islam is not a religion, I do not mean the normative understanding of religion. I mean the descriptive understanding. Now, let me clarify. When we talk about the normative understanding of religion, we're talking about how the word religion was understood in the pre-modern times, before secularism. Okay? That is how religion should be understood. Religion comes from, if you want to look at the etymology of the word, the backdrop of the word, it comes from a Latin backdrop, which means to bind, to tie. Okay? In other words, to tie yourself to the divine, His orders, His commands, and so on and so forth. It has a theological component to it. But today, we don't have a normative understanding of religion, we have a descriptive understanding. So when you talk to people about religion, immediately some things come to mind. Specifically two things. Number one, it is anti-rational. It's not rational. That kind of, as a description, it automatically just comes up in the mind. Number one. Number two, it is limited to the private space, the private sphere. It's not public. What you do in your home, what you believe, the God you believe in, private, not public. Okay? So when we say Islam is not a religion, I'm talking about the descriptive understanding of religion, what most people understand of the word when you tell them, this is my religion. Is that clear? Where did this descriptive understanding come from? Okay, now we can come to how do we get to understanding religion, that it's in this little box that's only limited to the private and limited to that which is not rational. This is Shihab Ahmed. He says, fundamental here are the consequences of the fact that the concept and term religion, as it is used today in the language of modern analysis, both by scholars and laymen, emerged in the wake of the devastating European wars of religion, which happened 1530 to 1630, okay? In other words, this box, conceptual box called religion, it is a European phenomenon, okay? That starts with the wars of religion. Why does it start? He continues. It is a product of Enlightenment and post-Enlightenment Europe. Religion was articulated as an instrument and expression of the social and intellectual struggle of Europeans to free themselves, this is where liberalism comes in, to free themselves from the monopoly of the totalizing truth claims that were made by and exercised by the social, political, intellectual, and material institution of the Christian church. In other words, the Christian church was making claims, well, let me put it in common parlance. The Christian church was issuing checks it couldn't cash, okay, to make it easy. They were saying things like, when the new world was discovered, they were saying we reject it. Why? Because a sign of the Trinity on this earth is three. There's 3 continents. Now you're saying there's a 4th continent? We will reject it, okay? They were saying things like, we have to claim that the earth is the center of the universe, right? And now you're saying that we are not the center of the universe, as you know, Galileo and all of that, we're going to reject it. So in response to these totalizing truth claims of the church, they said, we'll take these non-rational claims that we cannot empirically analyze, put them in this box called religion, and therefore that is religion. And so what happens now? Religion is limited now to that which is not part of the rational. You don't engage with the rationality. And number 2, you keep it to yourself. Make it the private domain. Don't bring it in politics. Don't bring it in society. Don't bring it in any areas outside of your personal home. Does that make sense? So, when I say Islam is not a religion, I'm saying you cannot put it in this box and limit it to that box. Clear? All right. How many people say Islam is a religion? Okay, hopefully I've won you over, or you just don't really care to answer, but that's fine. Either way. All right. I'm going to skip some of these due to time, and the slides aren't really cooperating anyway. Because we have to break in 5 minutes. Okay, you say we're breaking in 5 minutes? Okay. I'll stop here and open up for Q&A because we have 5 minutes. We're going to get into a few other things soon. Any questions about this? So if there are no questions, I'll leave you with this. If Islam is not a religion, what is it? Obviously, the Arabic term is that Islam is a deen. Okay? Now, how do we understand the word deen in English? So my proposal is to say that instead of saying Islam is a religion, although in certain cases we have to say it's a religion, right? There are certain political realities that if you start saying Islam is not a religion, you don't have religious freedom in America. So, political expediency aside, we're talking about this conceptually. If we do not conceptualize Islam as a religion, what do we conceptualize it as then? What does the term deen actually mean? What I'm putting forward is that a better way of understanding it is by way of the word worldview. It is an entire view of reality. And this is what we'll engage with after the break, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So I think we're going to go ahead and stop there. Do we have like 2 more minutes? 2 more? Any questions in these last 2 minutes? Okay. So the next section, we'll get into worldviews and how we understand worldviews. And what that'll do, just to give you some backdrop, is that'll empower you to be able to answer questions when people come to you and say, you know, why did the Prophet ﷺ marry Aisha at such a young age? Why can Muslim men have 4 wives? Why this, why that? All of those ethical questions, what we're going to find out is, if you haven't analyzed the person's worldviews, you will just go in circles trying to answer those questions. Okay? Because we haven't interrogated what the person's worldview is. And what we're going to see is, every single person has a worldview. Just like every single person speaks a language, every single person faces a direction, every single person has a worldview. You cannot escape it. Because even if you say, I transcend worldviews, I'm beyond worldviews, that's part of your worldview. Okay? And we'll talk about that, bi'idhnillah, after the break, inshallah. All right? Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just want to thank Sheikh Fahad and Sheikh Abdullah Jameel and Sheikh Anwar, inshallah, for spending time with us this weekend. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow them to enter Jannat al-Firdaus al-A'la for this great work that they're doing, inshallah. Salah is in 15 minutes, as you guys know.